I had the idea and I fell in love with it straight away. I've always been fascinated by memory and how much memory defines who we are, and how, just thinking about how lost I would be if I didn't have my memory. June Again is a dramedy about June, who is a woman who has dementia. She's in a nursing home and she's been there for about 5 years. She's reached the stage where she doesn't recognise her own family, and out of the blue has a lucid spell where she can suddenly remember things, and she's told very quickly that she has dementia and that this spell of lucidity won't last. So she decides to break out of this nursing home and find her family, because family's everything to her. And she discovers that the whole family's fallen apart, the family business is a mess, and since she's been gone, no one's done all the things she had mapped out for them to do. So she, knowing that she only has a few hours, she sets about trying to get everything back together, get the family back on track and fix the family business.
I don't even know where to begin with you. The fact that you sold my house.
Oh, yeah.
Or the fact that you and Tiffany are now divorced. Or that I find you working in what is this, a photocopy shop?
Oh, we also scan and print.
The lucidity that she experiences it's an exaggeration, I would say, of what's possible. I did talk to a couple of doctors before because I wondered the same thing myself. Am I stretching things too far? And in the process of making the film, I actually did meet someone whose father did exactly that, who came back completely for a couple of days and then went back into his dementia.
Well, say something. I don't have long.
One thing I really wanted to portray in this film that I haven't seen before was a way of showing dementia from the point of view of the person who has dementia, and to try to give a sense of that kind of disorientation and isolation that can sometimes be felt, and to show what it was like for her to not even recognise your own family.
Hey, we should get a family photo after this.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Would you like some salad, June?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I will, more for me.
A big part of the story in June Again is the wallpaper business that June started originally. Now Ginny, her daughter, runs. It's a hand-printed wallpaper factory, and I wrote that into the script because my parents used to have a hand-printed wallpaper factory when I was a kid, and I remember running around this factory and just being in awe of the place. After we'd already gotten underway with the pre-production, I suddenly started thinking, what if there are no more hand-printed wallpaper factories? What are we going to do if we can't find a factory? And luckily we managed to find this great factory, Publisher Textiles in Leichhardt, and we got Noni Hazlehurst and Claudia Karvan along to do a little crash course in how to screen print for an afternoon. That was really fun, watching them learn how to use the screens and seeing them do what my mother used to do when she was working there. It was quite special.
It's Devon I'm most worried about.
Oh, he'll be fine. He's just had a rough time the last few years.
There's something about passing that squeegee, mother to daughter to mother to daughter that I think is quite meaningful. It was interesting moving from shorts to my first feature, because I've made quite a few shorts, and I thought it would be just another little step up, a longer short film, but I was surprised at how big a step that was. It was a much steeper learning curve than I imagined. There are so many more layers and elements and aspects to every stage of the process. Getting the script working. A 5-page script is something that you can look at and quite quickly see what's wrong with it, but a script that's 100 pages long, it's a very different operation, getting it to flow and never making sure it's never boring, making sure the things happen in the right places. That was a real challenge, and working with such amazing people, who are really the best in their field, and kind of having to step up to work with those kind of people was a challenge. But I learnt just immense amounts from doing it, and it was so much fun. The thing I always hoped that people would feel after watching the film is they'd be a little bit choked up, but they would feel great, and trying to find that balance. I was determined not to make it a gloomy film. I like the challenge of how do you have something like dementia in a film and still make it a feel-good experience. So that was a challenge I set myself right from the beginning. That was always my kind of mark, how people felt when the credits start rolling, if they just want to go home and run the shower, or whether they feel like going out with their friends and having some fun.